Lena was a hard-working single mom, doing everything she could to keep a roof over her children's heads. She lived in a small, worn-down apartment with her 2 kids, Maya, who was 10 years old, and little Jace, only 6. Every month, Lena made sure the rent was paid on time. Sometimes that meant skipping meals or working extra hours just to cover the cost. She never missed a payment, no matter how tight things got. But this month was different. Her paycheck, which usually arrived on the last day of the month, was delayed. A mistake at the bank meant the money didn't arrive until 1 day later than usual. Lena knew she was late by just a day, but she also knew she had no money to pay the rent until the paycheck came through. She tried to call Mr. Reeds, her landlord, right away. She left messages and even sent texts explaining the situation and asking for a little more time, but Mr. Reeds never answered. No calls back, no emails, nothing. The next morning, when Lena stepped outside with Maya and Jace to go to school and work, she saw something she couldn't believe. A bright orange paper was taped to the door of their apartment. It was an eviction notice. The words were clear and cruel. "You must leave this property within 24 hours. Lena felt her heart drop. She looked at her children, their small faces filled with worry and confusion. Just 1 day late, and now they had no home. Lena didn't know where to start. The eviction notice left her feeling lost and scared, but she had to be strong for Maya and Jace. She began packing their few belongings, clothes, some toys, and a small photo album filled with memories. Every item felt heavy, like a reminder of what they were about to lose. Maya kept asking questions, her voice trembling. "Mom, where will we go? Are we going to be homeless?" Jace didn't say much but clung tightly to his mother's hand, his small fingers trembling. Lena wished she could give them answers, but all she felt was panic. She knocked on her neighbors' doors, hoping someone might offer a place to stay, even just for a night. Some shook their heads gently, apologizing, while others looked away, unsure of what to say. The building was full of people struggling just like her. That night, Lena did the only thing she could. She parked her old car near the grocery store. The kids curled up in the back seat, trying to find comfort on the cold, hard seats. Lena wrapped a blanket around them and stared out the window, feeling hopeless. Her mind raced with worries. Where would they eat tomorrow? What about school? How could she protect her children from losing everything they had? Maya whispered again, "Mom, will this be forever? Will we never have a home again?" Lena held her tight and promised, "No, sweetheart, we'll find a way. We always do." But deep inside, Lena wasn't sure if finding a way was possible this time. The next morning, Mrs. Ellis, an elderly neighbor who lived down the hall, noticed the eviction notice and saw Lena's empty apartment. She felt a deep sadness. Mrs. Ellis had known Lena for years and remembered how she always tried her best to keep up with rent, even when money was tight. Without hesitation, Mrs. Ellis took out her phone and wrote a message on a local community group on social media. She told the story of Lena's eviction, how a single mother with 2 kids had been forced out because her paycheck was late by just 1 day. She asked if anyone could help. Within hours, the post was shared hundreds of times. People in the neighborhood and nearby towns were shocked and angry. Comments poured in. "How can a landlord be so cruel? That's just 1 day late. We have to help them." The story caught the attention of a local news reporter, who reached out to Mrs. Ellis for more details. Soon, the story was on the evening news, showing pictures of Lena and her kids and sharing the eviction notice. Suddenly, what felt like a private, humiliating moment for Lena became a public issue. People all over the city were talking about the unfairness of her eviction. Donations started coming in, food, clothes, even money to help find a new place. Lena, still in her car with Maya and Jace, didn't know any of this yet. But somewhere, a spark was growing. A spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, things were about to change. The next morning, Mr. Reeds drove to the apartment building. He expected to find the place empty and ready to rent out to someone new. Instead, what he saw stopped him cold. A crowd had gathered outside. People held signs with messages like "Compassion over greed," "1 day late," "One family gone," and "Homes are for people not profits." Their faces were serious but full of determination. Among them were neighbors, strangers from town, and even local reporters with cameras. Mr. Reed stepped out of his car, looking around, confused and annoyed. He tried to push his way through, but the crowd parted to block him. Someone stepped forward and threw a copy of the lease at his feet. The pages showed that Lena had always paid on time before, never missed a single payment, until that one day. The media swarmed in, microphones in his face, asking why he had evicted a family for being one day late. Mr. Reeds tried to explain that the rules were clear, that rent had to be paid on time, but his words sounded cold and heartless under the glaring cameras. The protesters shouted louder, their voices growing stronger. Lena's story wasn't just about one family anymore, it was about how people could be treated unfairly by those in power. Mr. Reed's face tightened. He had expected the eviction to be quiet, something no one would notice. But now, his actions were on display for everyone to see. The crowd didn't move. The cameras didn't stop rolling. For the first time Mr. Reeds wondered if he had made a mistake, but would he admit it? Or would he fight the protest, trying to keep his hold on the building, no matter the cost? As the protest grew louder outside the building, a young woman in the crowd pulled out her phone and began searching online for more about Mr. Reeds. What she found surprised everyone. It turned out that years ago, before he became a landlord, Mr. Reeds had been homeless himself. Back then, he had even been arrested for squatting in an abandoned building. His life had been a hard struggle, and somehow, he had managed to pull himself out of poverty. The news spread fast. Protesters started sharing this part of his past alongside Lena's story. People were shocked that someone who once knew what it was like to have no home was now evicting a family for being one day late. This revelation made the protest even stronger. Voices called out, "He should know better, and why is he so cruel now?" Meanwhile, Mr. Reed started getting phone calls from other tenants in his buildings. They were worried, asking if they were next to be evicted or treated unfairly. Some threatened to leave if he didn't change his ways. His reputation was crumbling. Business began to slow down, and Mr. Reeds found himself alone, facing not just the protest, but a growing community standing up against him. Caught between his past and the anger of the present, Mr. Reeds faced a choice. Continue being the harsh landlord, or finally show some kindness. But would he? As news of Lena's eviction and Mr. Reed's past spread, the community didn't stay silent. A local charity stepped forward, offering Lena and her kids a small, safe apartment to stay in while she got back on her feet. It wasn't perfect, but it was a real home. Neighbors brought food, clothes, and school supplies for Maya and Jace. A lawyer who had seen the news reached out to Lena, offering to help her fight the eviction in court. He believed her case was strong. After all, she had always paid rent on time, except for one day. The tenants in Mr. Reed's building started talking. They shared stories about how they were treated, some good, some bad, and many agreed it was time to stand up together. They formed a renters' union, meeting quietly at first, but growing louder with each day. Meanwhile, Mr. Reeds made a public apology. But it felt hollow. His words lacked real regret, and the community saw through it. Instead of calming things down, his apology made people more determined to fight for fairness. Lena watched the movement grow from her new home. She felt relief knowing she wasn't alone anymore. The kindness from strangers gave her hope. It wasn't just about her family now, it was about every person who could be next. For the first time in a long while, Lena believed that justice wasn't something only found in courtrooms. It came from people standing together, raising their voices, and refusing to be ignored. A month had passed since the eviction. Lena and her kids were settled into their new apartment. It was small but warm and safe. Maya hung a drawing on the fridge, bright colors, with big letters that said, "Home sweet home. For real this time." Jace smiled every morning when he saw it. Life wasn't perfect. Lena still worried about money, and the future felt uncertain. But now, she wasn't alone. The community was watching out for her, and others like her. Mr. Reeds quietly sold the apartment building. He disappeared from local news and no one saw him around anymore. The protest he once ignored had grown into a movement. A voice for renters everywhere, reminding landlords in cities that homes are about people's lives, not just buildings or money. Lena thought about the day she found the eviction notice on her door. Back then, it had felt like the end, but now, it was clear it was only the beginning. Sometimes, when people stand together, even the smallest actions can change everything. And for Lena, Maya and Jace, that change was a new chance, a real home and a community that cared.